Welcome to the OnlyFans Secrets Marketing Podcast. The goal of this podcast is to help both new and established OnlyFans creators learn the basics of online branding, marketing, and promotion to help you make more money with your content and maximize your time online. My name is Richard Lewis, and I have over 20 years of internet marketing experience. So let's get started with today's topic. That topic is keeping yourself safe on OnlyFans. Okay, so safety is always the most important thing when putting yourself out there on the internet. So in this episode, we'll discuss how to keep your personal self, your content, and even sometimes your identity safe and secure when using OnlyFans. Okay, so the first part would be deciding what you want out there for public consumption. Okay, so as we've seen recently from the Free Britney movement, fame can sometimes have negative consequences, i.e. people knowing too much about you, where you're going to be at all times, which is scary. So you want to decide whether you want to be you or a persona on social media and OnlyFans. And then you wanted to make decisions about how you post on social media, and on OnlyFans based off of that decision. So first would be keeping your identity secret. So that's option one. So what happens if you're keeping your identity secret? You want to use a stage name. So basically creating an online persona. We've talked previously in other podcasts, one about how strip clubs relate to OnlyFans. For exotic dancers, they usually will pick a stage name. They don't come in and say, "Hi, I'm Emily Smith. Would you like to tip me?" They say that their name is Exotica or something, interesting. And that both makes them seem more mysterious as well as keeps their privacy in check. So if someone was to, know them in real life, they might not be able to identify them at the club. And this would be the same concept here, except obviously OnlyFans is a worldwide club, so to speak. So, very unlikely for someone you actually know to find you, but still possible. So if you're going to keep your identity absolutely secret, you want to use, first off, a stage name or create some sort of identifier that, people wouldn't necessarily associate to you. Okay, and then secondly is you still want to be honest with OnlyFans about who you are. So actual OnlyFans itself, when setting up your account, when setting up your bank information, all of that, you still have to tell actual OnlyFans who you are. You don't want to hide that information or use something fake there. It could cause you problems in the long term as far as wanting to get paid, and also you don't want to run into any identity theft issues, anything that would, mar your work on OnlyFans. So you want to still be honest with OnlyFans even when you're keeping your identity secret to the outside world. Okay, and then you want to set up unique social accounts to promote this persona. So it's very important that you start back over, if you've had huge success on a particular platform, let's say like Instagram, and you're like, I'd really like to milk some of that, and bring it over to OnlyFans. If you're deciding to keep your identity completely secret, it's just not worth the risk. So you're going to need to establish brand new social accounts across the board. Obviously, this is difficult, to do, starting over from scratch, especially if you can't, tell people why they are interested in you because you're keeping your actual identity pretty secret. But you will have to do this if your goal is to keep your identity secret. Okay, and then never reveal any personal data, out there on social media or OnlyFans. And I would say that includes everything from your age, maybe put an age range, but there's really no reason for anyone really to be interested in your age to begin with. So I wouldn't put that because that can, help identify who you are, your location, obviously. If you really want to put a state, I still wouldn't do that, a state or province or just even, depends on how small your country is, but I would, if you want to say, okay, I'm in the United States, there's 320 million people in the United States, that might be safe. But again, if you're trying to keep your identity, super safe, if you are going to put, I'm in a country, you might want to say, okay, well, I'm in, somewhere else, or just not mention it at all. And then obviously your name. This is your real name, your nickname, anything that's close to your name. If your name is Emily, you don't want to put in Emma, anything, because, people are going to say, okay, maybe this is that person. You want to be as far away from that name as possible, your actual identity. So never reveal any of this on any part of social media. And then lastly, you want to cover any tattoos or scars, etc., any pictures that you put out there, anything that's identifiable. It sounds terrible, but it's basically like if you're running from the law, what would you be doing? That's what the law is looking for. They're going to put out, this person has tattoos and this scar on their left thigh, So, imagine that you're trying to run from the law and you don't want anyone to find you. You're Bonnie and Clyde. You would cover your face. You would cover any tattoos in your content. You would just make sure that your identity was completely safe. So obviously this is to the extreme, but if you want to be on OnlyFans and don't want anyone to know who you are, you're going to have to go to the extreme to do that. And it can be worth it long term. If you're able to build up all these social platforms again for this particular persona, and now no one knows that you're, raking in cash from OnlyFans on the side, can totally be worth it. But it is going to be a bit more work, a longer haul. And, these are just some ways to keep that identity secret. Okay, so the other option is showing your face, but you don't want people to know who you really are. This is a little lighter version of, keeping your identity secret. It's still a version, but you are showing your face out there, so people are going to know who you are. But I would say, first of all, don't use your real last name. And this is because you can, and if you want to go by your actual first name, for your OnlyFans, you can, but I would not use your real last name because it just poses security issues. So, is someone finding you by your last name, finding your Facebook, finding your real Instagram, all of this, it poses a problem. You'd be surprised how people will dig to find what they want. If you have a very generic name, I would say, it's fine to use your generic name, Sarah, for instance. If you have a very unique name that maybe, 5 people you've ever met in your life have, I wouldn't necessarily use your real first name either. But if it's a generic name, that's fine. But of course, do not ever tell anyone on social media or on your OnlyFans or post about your real last name. Okay, so next, don't use any social media that has your first or last name. So it's always surprising to me how many people will add you from something like Snapchat or Instagram, and it will have the person's first and last name. Last names are a lot of times very unique. So it's pretty easy for someone then to just pop you into Google or pop you into Facebook, and now they know you and they know everyone you know, which is a problem. So when you're giving out social media, especially we've gone over like link trees and all my links, don't forget and get sloppy when you're with your link tree and just pop out, a particular social media username that has your first and last name in it because you didn't realize it. So now they have your first and last name along with your OnlyFans. You don't want that to happen. So just be very careful that you don't do that. Okay, and then make sure to turn off all geolocations on your social media accounts. So if you're not intending to show people where you live, you want to just make sure that you don't have, if you add someone on something like Snapchat and you just haven't turned off geolocations, now they know exactly where you are. I mean, down to the pinpoint. That's not safe. So just make sure that you turn that off. And when you create, your own unique social media accounts now for your persona, make sure that you turn those off as well. Make sure when they ask what city you're in, if you're in, a suburb of a major city, don't put the small suburb name. You might want to put the major city. Again, that's up to you. But that's a little safer than putting, a town with 600 people as opposed to the major city. It's going to be a little harder for someone to realize, that you live near there. If you really want to put your location, I would just not put the location. I don't see any real point in putting locations in social media, especially for work like OnlyFans. I just don't think there's someone who's going to subscribe to your OnlyFans because you're in the same town as they are without some security risks to go along with that. So we've gone over in previous podcasts, men's misconceptions, and I'm using men here because we've gone over that men are the primary buyers on OnlyFans. Misconceptions that they somehow are going to date you or see you in real life. So by putting that like city in there, you might feed into that false perception, which you don't want to do. So definitely you don't want to reveal your location, in my opinion. Okay, and then use of OnlyFans geo-blocker on your actual location. So if you don't want people who are nearby to you, especially if you live in a small town, if you have a job where you're public facing all the time, you want to go into OnlyFans actual site itself and block your town or the area around your town. This is something that you can do. Keeps you a little more safe, because if you live in a small town, what are the chances that anyone's going to really subscribe to you anyway? So you're really not losing, too many options there. If you live in a big place, that's up to you. But certainly, it's not as safe if you live in a small town and then people are able to, kind of identify you easier. Okay, and then never mention your birthday, age, or specific location. So, as mentioned, there's no reason to mention your specific location if you decide to. Again, all of this is up to you, but from a safety standpoint, I don't see a point, nor is there a point for marketing. Certainly never reveal your birthday. People will do the math. So if you say, I'm 25 and my birthday is, March 5th, they can figure out your exact birthday, and with your exact birthday, they can find out who you are a lot easier. And so don't tell people your birthday. I know this is tempting because everyone wants to put, it's my birthday, so spoil me. Again, that poses safety concerns, because they now have your birthday, they might have your real first name, they might have the state that you live in. It's not going to be a lot for them to find